Hello to all Cinemaster lovers. Hope you enjoy watching. Let's get started. One day, in the company's secret headquarters, a mysterious figure emerges from the darkness, walking on the ground until he rises from underground. This was one of the people who had been tested with the drug and turned into a zombie because of it. This zombie wasn't like any other. He came from underground and headed to a city called Bongzon. On the way, a couple driving a car suddenly stopped to catch their breath after a minor accident. They met their mechanic, John Gull, who was holding a metal rod and started fiddling with their car. It turned out that this man wanted to forcefully create work by causing accidents to attract customers. The couple didn't suspect anything and allowed him to take the car for repairs. In the morning, they came to pay the bill and were shocked to find it extremely expensive. The husband tried to argue, saying, "This is fraud," but his pregnant wife, Namjo, who was in charge of collecting money, hid the money away from John Gull because she didn't want to deal with him. He was always busy. In another scene, the zombie sees some girls walking in the street and tries to grab them to eat them, but they easily avoid him. A child nearby tells him, "Why don't you sit down for a while?" and starts throwing small objects at him. The zombie even fails to eat a stray dog, which runs after him like a mad creature, barking furiously. Meanwhile, at John Gull's house, his father Mandyuk was playing cards with his friends as usual. Suddenly, he hears a dog barking outside and says, "What's going on? Something's wrong." Mandyuk goes outside to chase the barking dog, unaware that the zombie is hiding in the bathroom. Mandyuk enters the bathroom to confront the zombie, but the zombie suddenly appears and attacks him. The elderly man is bitten by the zombie before he manages to escape. The zombie flees into the street and encounters Hai Gul, who hits the zombie. Later, everyone finds themselves running away from another stray dog, and the scene is quite funny. Hai Gul falls on the road, making it easy for the zombie to attack a woman. But before he bites her, a huge car comes speeding by and runs him over, throwing him to the ground. Miraculously, the zombie survives and runs away again. The elderly Mandyuk returns home from the hospital after his wound has been treated. He carries something with him, a large picture of Hawaii. His lifelong dream was to go there, and he always wore a Hawaii-themed t-shirt to imagine himself there. Meanwhile, the zombie continues running through the village. Hai Gul hears a strange noise coming from the garage. He and Mandyuk go to check it out and discover the zombie hiding inside. Mandyuk strikes the zombie with an axe to take his revenge. Later, John Gull arrives and engages in a flying battle with the zombie. Now the whole family is in the garage, turning the zombie into a combat target. They are convinced he's dead, but this zombie isn't easy. He suddenly gets up and terrifies the family. They run outside the garage and lock him in. Finally, Mingul, who is Hai Gul's uncle, tells them this might be a zombie, pointing to a scene from the movie Train to Busan to explain how zombies are created when someone is bitten. They finally understand that anyone bitten by a zombie turns into one. So the mother, Namjo, decides to hit Mandyuk with a frying pan to protect him and calm him down. The next day, Mingul searches the internet for information about zombies and tells the rest of the family that anyone bitten by a zombie comes back to life and turns into one. Mandyuk's family is confused about what's happening and decides to leave the zombie in the garage in peace. Suddenly, Mingul proposes killing Mandyuk before the zombie kills them. At that moment, Mandyuk steps out of the trailer and enters the house, but Mingul hits him on the head without realizing it, causing the family to scold him for his actions. Later, Hai Gul decides to give the zombie a name, Chunji, and treat him like a pet. Meanwhile, Namjo thinks he won't harm them, but decides to remove all his teeth to ensure safety. The next day, everyone is surprised that Mandyuk hasn't turned into a zombie as expected. On the contrary, he starts looking younger due to the infection. His friends notice him urinating like a young man and begin asking him about the secret to his newfound youth. One of them, who is about to get married, offers him a ticket to Hawaii to learn the secret. Mandyuk tells him everything about Chunji, but this conversation is overheard by Mingul, who comes up with the idea to sell Chunji for money. Meanwhile, Mandyuk packs his bag to go to Hawaii, but his friends come knocking on his door. Mandyuk's friends have all learned about Chunji, and each one wants to pay to restore their youth. So Mandyuk takes them to the garage, only to find Chunji missing. Mingul had taken Chunji and was heading to Seoul to sell him to a pharmaceutical company. But on the way, the police stop Mingul for speeding. The police recognize him because they're from the same village. After a while, they hear noises coming from the car trunk. When they open it, they find Chunji tied up inside. Later, the police take them to the station, and Mandyuk immediately comes and tells the police that Chunji is his son. At night, Hai Gul feeds Chunji a plate of lettuce, but he can't eat it because he has no teeth. Mandyuk discovers this and is astonished. Mandyuk's friends decide to come over to rejuvenate themselves. So Mandyuk comes up with a plan and creates artificial teeth for the zombie, starting a new business. The business is like a lemonade stand, but much stranger. At first, Mandyuk's friends are hesitant, but eventually they get used to it. In the end, Namjo collects all the money in a safe box. The next day, all the people who were bitten by Chunji start running through the streets like maniacs. The people who got stung by Chunji are so happy because they've become young again. But suddenly Mandyuk finds himself in trouble. Everyone surprises him by saying he's run out of money. That's because he took all the money and traveled traveled to Hawaii. At the same time, news about Chunji started spreading in the village, and people kept coming to Junggol to get stung. Their money increased so much that trucks were filled with people coming to get stung. After a few days, they decided to renovate Manduk's trailer so Chunji could live in it. They even bought him new teeth so he could eat lettuce like humans. One day, Hegel took Chunji to the barber to get groomed, and after the makeover, Chunji looked like a handsome young man. Meanwhile, Hegel started feeling that they were exploiting Chunji for money and began to fall in love with him. One night, Hegel overheard her brother Mingul talking to someone about selling Chunji. So the next day, she decided to take him to the forest and let him escape to live his life. But unfortunately, Chunji, who had also started to love her, told her he wouldn't leave because he enjoyed earning money from the stings. He decided to continue working with them. At the same time, at the wedding of one of Manduk's friends, the people who had been stung started behaving strangely. They felt hot, as if they were hungry or experiencing something unnatural. Mingul discovered that Chunji was missing and rushed to find him to sell him and get the money. On his way, he found Chunji in the place where Hegel had left him and took him to the bus station. Back at the wedding, the priest told the couple to kiss, but instead of kissing, the groom bit his wife. Suddenly, everyone discovered that anyone bitten by Chunji had turned into a zombie. Chaos ensued, everyone became zombies, and the virus spread rapidly. Even people at the bus station started biting each other. Then, the streets were filled with zombies, and each person turned the next into a zombie. After a while, a zombie entered the garage and attacked Hegel. She ran to her parents' house screaming until a policeman arrived and tried to intervene, but he got bitten. This zombie didn't want lettuce, he wanted bacon. Manduk's family realized they needed to escape, so they ran to the house and sealed all the windows and doors. In a book about surviving zombies, Mingul had written some ideas about how to deal with zombies, but unfortunately, they misunderstood some of them. In the end, they managed to create shields using available tools. Meanwhile, at the bus station, Mingul somehow survived the attack and drove back to his house, leaving Chunji behind. On his way, he discovered that almost everyone in the village had turned into zombies. After a while, the zombies entered the house and started chasing the family. Namjo almost got killed, but managed to grab her money box and escape. After that, the family hid in the garage, and Mingul brought some fireworks. He lit them and threw them at the zombies, but he didn't realize he was igniting a gas station. He quickly drove to stop the fireworks, but suddenly the car exploded in flames. Of course, this attracted the zombies, who ran toward the burning car. The fireworks continued to explode above them, and the zombies seemed mesmerized as if enchanted. At that moment, Namjo went into labor. Junggol and Mingul dressed in Chunji's clothes to disguise themselves as zombies and escape, but they forgot the keys inside the house. Moreover, when the car started and its lights turned on, the zombies' attention was drawn again, leaving them frozen in fear, surrounded by the fiery zombies. Hegel decided to go out with a lawnmower, attacking the zombies to protect them, but unfortunately, her arm was overwhelmed. Just as they were about to die, Chunji came to her rescue. Amid the chaos, one of the zombies moved the wires strangely, and the city's lights suddenly turned on, distracting the remaining zombies and leaving Chunji and Hegel safe. This was their chance to escape. Mingul decided to go inside to retrieve the keys from the house, but before he could reach them, the lights suddenly went out and the zombies surrounded him. At that moment, they heard a baby's cry, and Mingul decided to sacrifice himself to get the keys and return quickly. The baby and Namjo were inside the trailer attached to the car. In the car, Junggol was ready to drive to escape, but Hegel and Chunji were facing the zombies to protect the trailer. Mingul finally managed to get the keys and return to the car, but the zombies were still on their way. Mingul threw the keys to Hegel, and the family managed to escape in the car, leaving Chunji and the zombies behind. In the end, Chunji set the place ablaze, causing an explosion that destroyed the gas station. The next morning, Junggol woke up, and for the first time, everyone was shocked because he had turned into a zombie. The family locked him in the car and ran outside. While planning their next move, they heard someone coming from the tunnel. It was Manduk, who had returned from his trip to Hawaii, looking sunny and cheerful, unaware of what had happened in their village. When the family saw Manduk still alive and not turned into a zombie like everyone else, they were surprised. Coincidentally, the radio announced that the virus had spread across Korea and that people immune to the virus could be the cure to turn zombies back into humans. Mingul came up with a new idea. He wanted to exploit Manduk's immunity and turn it into a new business. 6 months passed and the virus had spread across Korea, but the family was thriving. Manduk started biting people to turn them back into humans, and Chunji turned into a human again in the same way. In the end, the movie concludes with the family sitting in front of their trailer with a long line of zombies waiting to be cured. If you liked this ending, don't forget to support us with a like and subscription so we can continue bringing you the best